All right, good. So, I got double. How to explode your care operator's brand without rebranding to become the employer of choice for new care staff. So this lunchtime webinar will be 20 minutes. I will have time for questions. So it will be brief, so please be ready. Some of you might be on my previous webinar, so there's some kind of crossover. But please, if you've got any questions, ask those questions as we go in chat. And I'll come and answer them at the end. So please, if you would do that, that would be great. Ask questions. As questions come to mind, ask them in chat. So who am I? I'm Adam James. I'm founder of Springup PR. Some of you may know of me already. I head what we believe is the UK's #1 care PR and marketing powerhouse. Now, why build the brand? Why build or explode your brand, and why? Well, particularly for recruitment, we know that competition is intense. Everyone from Amazon to Tesco's, our competitors, as well as other care operators, other care homes. Competition is intense. You have to be noticed. If you want to be proactive in order to start to attract the attention of possible applicants and being seen as a great employer, yes, as a great brand, you need to start getting noticed. I just want to add that despite the challenges that we all face, you all face in the care sector, the care market is growing year on year. So bear that in mind. So in a nutshell, it's if you want to start to attract possible new applicants by being seen as a brand and being noticed as a good employer for those reasons, and then how can you start to do that? Well, I'm just succinctly putting this down to 3 steps. This is part of a recruitment strategy in 2022 in the situation that we are all in and you are all in, where competition is intense, where we know there aren't as many possible care workers as you would like, as we would all like, for a whole variety of reasons. First is PR, press coverage. You just need to be seen and noticed in the press on a regular and ongoing basis. You want to get journalists to be writing about how you are great as a care operator, you provide great care, and you are a great place to work. For those of you who may have been on this previous webinars, for every care home or every care service, that's mean once every 6 weeks, 2 months. And we mean regional television and radio, that's your local press. This webinar is focused on individual services because that's where your new care recruits will be coming from. We'll also be talking about, and this is important part of this step 1, is what we call this digital PR, this Facebook, because that's the platform where you can reach in a targeted way tens of thousands of people per month. Organic Facebook posts have some value, but they don't really cut it. If you want to be seen as a good employer, if you want to be massively exploding your brand, you need to be seen on Facebook by tens of thousands of people per month, and boosts is a way to do that. I'll come onto that a bit more in a moment. Just to emphasize, journalists love good care home, good care operator stories. They love them. Regional press, they love them. That's in your favor. They don't so much like stories coming from Amazon or Tesco, but they love good care home stories about care staff providing great care. It's a public interest. It's a healthcare interest. Dementia is a healthcare national healthcare interest. Caring for our elderly is a national healthcare interest. That's why journalists love good care operator stories, and you must exploit that. Remember, any questions as they come, put them in chat and I'll come back to them. Examples of some press coverage. Lucy, I know I can see you're on this call, on this webinar. There's a story of Hilma there. That's just a quick reminder of what we mean by press coverage. Now, I've got a tip for you here on this gaining regular ongoing press coverage. Write the story on a plate for those journalists so they copy and paste. In this way, you have complete control of your message. So much easier than calling them and saying, oh, are you interested in? Write the whole story for them. So here's some examples. 300 words, great headline, and quotes from your managers or your families or your staff. And write it with the 300 words, a good headline, succinctly, and have some good quotes in there from, as I mentioned, those particular individuals. Second example, again, around about 300 words, great headline. I've got no plans to retire, says 83-year-old care home worker Sylvia. This Sylvia has worked in a particular care home for the last 26 years. She loves it, and she joined the team as a full-time care worker 20 years ago. It's a wonderful human interest story. And it's your care worker or a care worker telling everyone how much she loves working in care. This particular, I would encourage you to think about using your own care staff as an avenue to help you build the brand as a great place to work. But again, great headline, 300 words, quotes from, of course, this particular, she was the domestic assistant, actually, Sylvia, and quotes from Sylvia, of course, and her manager at the home. It was a wonderful story. So great, always have good photos with these stories that you're putting out to your regional press. There's the one of Sylvia there in the middle. Downhall care worker Sylvia, 83, still fighting fit. But you can see the difference that great photos make in terms of amount of coverage, literally amount of coverage, and both online and also in the printed press. You can see the difference that it makes with great photos. This is all part of step one. Again, when it comes to the pitching of these stories to your journalist, distribute them to a named journalist, not necessarily to a generic email. So find out who those journalists are. You can phone those media outlets to find out who those journalists are and their email addresses. And look here, if you want to be in contact with your local BBC journalists, that's regional television for your BBC. You can find them on Twitter, and I'll give you, look, here are their email addresses. So get personal relationships going with your target media journalists. Now, remember, please, any questions, just put them in chat and I will come back to them. And when you are pitching those stories to the journalists, make sure you please follow up to the depth. What I mean is make sure they say yes, no, or maybe. 95% of the time they will say yes, as long as that story is a good one. But you need to make sure you always follow up, because there's a whole number of reasons why people may not see your story. Now here, Lucy, I know you're on this call. It's such a great example, so I use this one. Digital PR is part of step 2. So you need to make sure those wonderful stories are seen by tens of thousands of people on Facebook for any one of your particular services. So this was a particular story about Hilma, about how she loves working, in this case in Ashbrook Court Care Home, hello, Lucy. And this story got the press coverage, but you then need to make sure that this story is being seen by tens of thousands of people. You want to be making local people in your area, targeted by age, to be aware of you as a great care operator and a great place to work. I think this is about £150 towards a boost, but very, very carefully thought out. Good use of emoticons, a very good story and great photos. But if you can see down towards the bottom left, numbers of likes, 634 likes, a total of 98 positive comments, 98 positive comments. That is people joining you in celebrating your care staff or your care home. This is very, very, very powerful. And here is some of the comments, just a sample of some of the comments that were provided to this particular story. And remember, you need to boost these stories, Facebook boosts. Any questions in chat? So very, very generally here, you must think strategically about when you've got these very powerful stories to celebrate your care, to increase your awareness and brand awareness. You must have a mechanism as much as you can to encourage people to comment, engage, and ultimately share. Facebook algorithms love that, and if Facebook's algorithms love it, it will benefit you in promoting and increasing the awareness of you as a great home, as a great care service, and as a great brand and a great place to work. Another example, this is millions, not tens of thousands, this is millions. So we call it accelerated engagement during Dementia Action Week. A number of posts during dementia, during that Dementia Action Week, a number of posts celebrating the home's dementia initiatives. And yes, this truly went viral. You read those numbers correctly. 13.8 million people on Facebook saw this particular story. Total Facebook boost cost of around about £100. 432,000 people reacting, 236,000 people sharing, and 51,000 comments. It's not going to happen every week, I promise, but it shows you the power of Facebook if you get it right and you think strategically about it. So thank you. I'm seeing some questions come in. I'm just going to have a little peek here. Yes, thank you. All right, good. I'll come to all these questions. Thank you so much. So step 3, what's on eShots? I really recommend these. This is when you are getting front of mind with all those important people that you need to be making sure that you are noticed for your great care and for your great quality of care and your great staff. So that's families, solicitors, GPs, district nurses. You can read them all there. Plus, as importantly, prospective employees. So all those prospective employees that are coming to you via email, eventually you'll have their email addresses. Make sure they are on that list. This is a long-term game, long-term game. You want to be growing that email list. You want to be using every trick you have in the book to get noticed, to promote and celebrate yourself as a great provider of care and a great employer. That's an example of a particular eShot. Any questions, please, in chat. So just do a quick time check. So we're doing pretty good. A few more minutes, a couple more minutes. I just want to give you some data I said I would. This is for a particular single home. They went from what I call 0 PR output, that's doing pretty much nothing, to reaching 10,000 people per month on Facebook, and getting press coverage, yes, you read that correctly, for one single care home every 2 months for the last 5 years. Every 2 months for the last 5 years. They are everywhere. That's what I call really explosive increased awareness and profile raising as part of their recruitment strategy. Second example, this is a rural operator from absolute zero 7 months ago to reaching 90,000 people, more than 90,000 people via Facebook. This is targeted Facebook boosting. It's not random, it's targeted. 14 pieces of press coverage across broadcast, print and online in 6 months. Now, their particular recruitment strategy has meant that they are not using job boards or recruitment agencies, and they are only using Facebook ads. I covered this in a previous webinar. If you would like a recording of that, let me know and I'll send it through to you. Another third example, PJ Care, a specialist care operator. Year on year, they've been reaching 1.32 million people via regional press coverage for the last 2 years. They've got an extensive recruitment strategy, but massive, explosive increased awareness. Brand awareness is part of their strategy. And there you can see a quote from Neil, who's the chairman of PJ Care. Good. So, and here's just a snippet of what other care operators say about how PR press coverage can work has worked for them. So that's the 3 steps. So fire away with questions. I'll come and have a look at them in a moment. But please, if you are wondering how these strategies could work for you, then please just email noticed or get noticed even to hello@springup-pr.com, and we can one of us can hop on for book you in for a 30-minute get noticed Zoom call. So thank you so much. I hope that was useful. I know it was fast, but I said it would be fast, and it gives you a nice overview. So let me just come and see if we've got any particular questions. Let me have a look, just bear with me. Okay, thank you. So yes, no, I've got one or 2 questions which I'm going to look at now. And please, any more questions, put them in chat. But I see Sophie's asking, is it off-putting to press if it has already been shared? No, shared on social. Sorry, let me repeat that question. Sophie, thank you. Is it off-putting to press if it has already been shared on social? No. And I'll tell you why, because the press are interested in one thing. That's a good story. It's a good story that they want above everything else. So I always encourage people, operators, to send their story to the press first. But to be absolutely clear, no, it's one thing that the journalists want is the story, and they don't want to miss a story. Sometimes they might pick a story off from the social media and then use it as a story for them to cover in the press. So no, it doesn't matter. It's always good to present a story to the press first as an exclusive. That can provide a bit of extra meat, but that's what I would recommend. Thank you very much, Sophie. So another question coming in from Andrew. Please, any more questions, put them in chat. about writing those news releases, the best way to do it. Well, I would say yes. It is a bit of a skill, but ideally you want to be able to try and write that story, as I say, on a plate. And I mean, if you like, Andrew, just DM me. I can give you some other sort of templates that you can have. But essentially, it's like a good headline, the first paragraph that tells the story, again, succinctly, and then bulking that up with quotes and facts. But don't be marketing or salesy. It's all about a good story and making sure you're telling that story. But within that story, you can weave in aspects about your home. So you may specialize in dementia, or you may have got a great CQC report over the last 2 months. You know, you can weave all that information in, and that is a great way to do it. But if you would like some templates, just send me a message, and I'll see if I can get you some kind of templated examples. Thank you. Another question here. So I can't see who it is, but the question is it more important to have fewer quality stories rather than bombard the press with less interesting stories? That's a great question. I would go on the avenue of having, oh, hi, John. Hi. No, I would, the press will not cover you every week. They might not ever cover you every 2 weeks. There's every chance they will cover you every month, as long as you have a great story, a good story every month. So you can test them. You can test them by finding out how often they will take a story. But I would recommend once per month or per 6 weeks with a good story. Just focus on that. Focus on every 6 weeks with one good story. If you do well with that, see if you can then move it to be more frequent. That's what I would do. So I hope that helps. So thank you, John, for that. I'm just seeing here what other questions we may have. Thank you, Lucy. We were blown away by the response. So that's the Hilma one, I guess. Thank you, Lucy. Is that a Greg, I think. So somebody's, again, it's coming up as Adam James. For some reason, it's coming up as myself. A question on the Facebook side about the boosting and how much you should spend. So the great thing about Facebook and Boost is you can try with 20 quid. You can try with 50 quid and see how it goes for you. If you find absolutely flies on 50 quid, put in another 100, and then you'll see it really fly. So you can kind of test it with a small amount. But what I would recommend when you are thinking about the boosts of a good news story is to try, as I mentioned in the webinar, try and bring something in that encourages people to make a comment or to engage in some way. So if a particular resident is celebrating and your staff is celebrating their 102nd birthday, and this particular resident, you know, they said that the secret to the long life was retail or shopping in moderation, something like that. In fact, that was basically a true story. Which kind of cheekily shopping in moderation, then you know, you can have a question. So what's this, what what do you think is a secret to a long life? Dorothy from So-and-so Home, she said it was shopping in moderation, exclamation mark. And then you've got the question about the story about how the staff supported Dorothy during her time at the home, and how they helped celebrate her birthday. And that would be the story. But you're trying to get people to engage in some way with that story, and that's a real an engine that can help you. So that's what I would encourage you to do. But in a nutshell, start off small, but you can see massive impacts for around about 100, 200 pounds. So I hope that helps. Look, thanks very much, everyone. It's 2 minutes to, so we were spot on 30 minutes. So that's great. And thank you so much for attending, and see you soon.